Okay, so there's one new thing on the syllabus. I added biliteral calligraphy. I just made this. So this is, you had a uniliteral calligraphy before too, where you can go practice drawing these signs. There's now a biliteral one. There will be a multiliteral one coming soon. I don't actually have a classifier calligraphy because classifiers are fewer and farther between, and they can be quite hard to find in a text. That's also, you know, a good idea. I should probably make one. But so this is a thing that you've probably seen before. Minor things to note about it: the signs are mirrored because Unicode is left to right, and handwritten Egyptian is generally the other way, right to left. But you have some signs and some place to practice them if that's something that you're interested in. This is linked in the syllabus, so you can just go to this document, print it out if you like, if you want to write them on your own, or make a copy of it, and you can do, you know, let me just embarrass myself real quick and try to do this on the screen. Let's see, let me pick one that's not too hard. If you want to do it electronically, you can do that too. I think I did it the wrong way. I should do it this way. Okay, so I'm not that good at it. And then, as mentioned before, in a lot of these, there's more than one version where possible. So a lot of signs in cursive hieroglyphs have, you know, fully defined forms or more abbreviated forms. Not as many on the biliterals because they are less frequent than the uniliterals, and they also change less. The uniliterals very often get their, you know, fully detailed cursive version and then their hieratic version within the same text, so they're quite easy to find. But there's an example here with when. You have the full rabbit. As Aurelio pointed out, the rabbit does have a beard, as I assumed all rabbits do, but I don't know. I don't look at that many rabbits. I look at way more hieroglyphic rabbits than I look at actual rabbits. So yeah, and then there's like a more hieratic version that's sort of like this with an extra little ears. Are they supposed to be whiskers? I have no idea. It's a good question. I have no clue. It looks very much like the typical sort of pharaonic false beard. It's just sort of stuck on. And the origins of that, I think, are quite interesting. We see them as on the very earliest, like early dynastic materials. I think Narmer palette has a false beard. Does he not? Let me check. Narmer. Oh, here is where I reveal that I don't know how to spell the word palette. I never get it right. Is it two L's? Is it two T's? How to know? Oh yeah, he does. He has a little stubby, little sort of like I would call it like a trucker beard, or the little chin strap beard with the little pointy goatee thing, and no mustache, which is never a good look. Doesn't work for him. Doesn't really work for anybody. But there it is. So yeah, a very old symbol, and where we see it depicted, we often see it depicted as this sort of like little thing kind of curling outward at the bottom. Like if you look at the burial mask of Tutankhamun, I can spell that at least. You see he has this little beard, and it kind of like curves forward at the bottom, almost like a little foot. Yeah, so that's like a fashion. Presumably it was somebody actually had that. Like maybe Narmer really had this kind of very iconic beard, and because his rise to prominence was kind of mythologized, and it was this like central component of Egyptian kingship that carried over for thousands of years. This became a symbol of kingship. So maybe this is a very kingly rabbit, or maybe those are just his whiskers. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. And last time we were working on the biliteral transcriptions. So we got one page into it. I think we'll just continue with that. How many pages do we have here? It's not that many. How do I tell how many pages I have? I can zoom out maybe. No, that's not right. Okay, questions in the chat. Do some biliterals have a name as the letters of our alphabet do? Probably, almost certainly they did in an ancient Egyptian context. We don't know what they are. So I think this is a really excellent question. It's something that I've wondered about for years. Because when you're in Egyptian language classes, you have to talk about, like, is it that sign or is it this sign? A lot of people will use the Gardner sign codes. If you happen to know them, that can be quite useful, but most Egyptologists don't have all the Gardner sign codes memorized. It's not terribly useful. So Egyptologists will refer to them as like the Wa sign. Like I would refer to this as the Shah sign, and people would know what you meant. Or you might just kind of briefly describe it, like the rabbit or the harpoon. We can reasonably assume that ancient Egyptians did have names for these things. They're just not preserved anywhere. It's not the kind of thing that gets written down. So we just don't know what it is. You can imagine like the names of letters in our own alphabet don't get written down as such very often. It's always a funny thing when you're playing Scrabble and you play one of the names of the letters and, you know, it's like you've never seen it before. I've never actually seen them written down as full words, except H for some reason. People tend to write H like this. That's the only one, that's the only letter name you ever really see written down is H. So yeah, good question. Isn't preserved as far as we know. So we just make them up.
Seem to remember something. Can't find the citation right now about maybe the monoliterals with names of birds, and this is really late, like something demotic or basically just before the Ptolemaic age.
There are these like alphabetic texts that sometimes do have them. The only thing I remember about it is there are two alphabetic orders. There is the Proto-Canaanite alphabetic order, which survives into our alphabet with like Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, or whatever, whichever alphabet you choose. So the ABCD order. And then there's another order that was used in some Egyptian texts and also in some early Semitic scripts, which starts with the H's. I can't remember the whole order, but it begins with the 4 H's. And there are Egyptian texts that record that and then describe them, I think with names. So yeah. So for the uniliterals, I think we probably do have them. I don't know what they are. I would have to specifically do research on that to figure it out. But I think we do have them. But for biliterals and things, we really don't. We don't know what they would have been called. So improvise. And one of the reasons for taking a class is to sort of learn the standards in, we're not always learning how the ancient Egyptians did it. Sometimes we're learning how modern Egyptologists do it, and that's okay too. So like I've been discussing these things with other Egyptologists for more than a decade now. So whatever I say, you can probably use it. I have invented some of my own, most famously, the one there's a couple I hope I can be remembered for. One of them is, wait, what happened? Yeah, that's right. Oh, it's not working properly. That's weird. Why isn't it working? It's not doing hieroglyphic signs. What if I put it in the middle?
You look Korean today.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening. Never did that before. I don't know how to fix that either. So, okay, bird on the stick. Bird on the stick is the one that I would like to be credited with, the G7 sign. Falcon on standard. I mean,
bird on a stick is better.
Bird on a stick is better. The official name is not as good as mine. The other one that I especially like is the little bean bird. I forget its Gardner sign code, but I had a teacher years and years ago when I was first studying Egyptian. He referred to it as the little bird of ill repute because it's always in negative things. I think it's a sparrow. So yeah, that one's fun.
Is that the same as the bad bird?
The bad bird, yeah. It often gets called just the bad bird. Let me see if I can type that in hieroglyphs. Yeah, there we go. The bad bird, the bean bird, which just means the evil bird, or the little bird of ill repute, I think is especially nice. A bit verbose, but anyway. Okay, so we're gonna see how many of these we can get through. I think we can probably get through a lot. We have 50 minutes, so see what we can do. Does anyone want to volunteer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mustafa, okay, and I heard another yes. Michael,
Yes. Yeah,
you'll
Joseph.
be. Oh, Joseph. I see
Yes.
Michael, and I heard a Joseph. Okay, so it'll
Yes.
go Mustafa, Michael, Joseph. Okay, remind me if I forget. All right, Mustafa, what do you have?
Yeah. Wa. Ayn.
Okay.
Just it.
And then I give
Wa.
two values here. Mustafa, why do I give two Coptic equivalents?
Because actually the wa in transliteration form, it is not actually one letter. It is something like half consonant, half vowel. It is the remnant of the Afro-Asiatic languages, something like wa, because of the this reason, and ayn is the ai, because in Greek alphabet there is no actually one correspondent letter for ayn. Because of that, two letter.
Yeah,
the
I mean,
last two letter.
historically, it's actually this. I feel like this is getting a bit confusing. So forgive me. I'll try to straighten all this out for everyone listening. Yeah, so W is a semi-vowel. It can be a consonant or a vowel. There is no Greek equivalent of ein, or there's no Coptic equivalent of ein, and it's very likely that pharyngeals had merged with glottals, which means that in Coptic, the ein was no longer pronounced as such. It was probably just pronounced as a glottal stop. And then in a word like y, it probably created this this diphthong, this I, where you have two vowels together. We can guess that it was something like y or something, and then it became a glottal, so y, and then disappeared entirely, so it just becomes y. There are other relatives of this word in Coptic that still show the presence of a glottal stop. You know, for those of you who know Coptic words like imawat, that means like by myself, that has the glottal stop in it still. So we can see where this ended up. And then slightly off topic, but the Greek omicron is actually the correspondent of like the Phoenician ein character. It turns into omicron, where it becomes an O in Greek and then it's an O in Coptic. So it doesn't have that in it anymore, but historically, you know, 1,000 years or more before, it actually did represent that character, but not anymore. So there's no Coptic ein. The sound itself probably doesn't exist by the time we get to Coptic anymore. It does still exist in Late Egyptian. It's probably just before it sort of starts to merge with the glottal stop and disappear. So it is still there. But the question I really wanted to ask Mustafa is so there are two Coptic words that are exactly equivalent to this Late Egyptian word. There's the word y, and then there's this thing, oo, and I put a dash on purpose because it would attach to a noun. So why both of those things?
Because of probably for gender.
Nope. The masculine is here and the feminine is the next one. So why and
that's
way?
why it's those are different. OY, OA, because because the T, and mostly as I understand from my Coptic lessons you have gave, it is the T, last T, gender T, mostly omitted in Coptic because of that,
and in Late Egyptian too, just not omitted in writing.
Because of that, it is different with the other sounds to express the gender.
Yeah, so something happens to the vowels. So this is the masculine Y, this is the feminine way or we, and that difference in vowel is somehow triggered by the fact that one is feminine and one is masculine. It's not totally clear to me how that happened. But
excuse me,
sure.
Chris, are we still considering feminine because we have the T on the end? The T symbol seems to always represents, feminine all the time, and just like in Ivrit in Arabia, they have like the ha at the end and ta,
Yep.
or the ta marbuta, which are
Exactly.
always indicative of the feminine end. So I mean, when I see it in the glyphs, it's it's real clear to me. But also in the Coptic as well. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, the T in the glyphs is a dead giveaway that it's feminine. How that results in this vowel rather than this one is not totally clear to me. But yeah, so in Coptic you just learned that like Y is masculine one and we is feminine one.
exactly.
The thing that I wanted to point out here, and I'll just spill it, and I'll stop being mysterious about it. So the word Y is actually the Coptic word one, just like ONE in English is the English word one. U goes on the front of nouns, and it's the indefinite article. So in late Egyptian, we're actually just seeing the first development of the indefinite article, where you could say like wa remech in late Egyptian for one man or a man. And it's not clear in writing which one is actually intended. It could kind of go either way, but then we know from Coptic that those did become separate words.
Are these things is not same?
They're not the same. No, just like in English, the word one and are now different words.
Okay. It doesn't make sense to me because there is no in Turkish.
Wait, does Turkish have an indefinite article? It doesn't, I don't think.
Actually, just we say for a or one, bir, two, one.
You just say the word one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. So in English, the indefinite article actually came from the word one, and it evolved into its own word. And the exact same thing happened in Egyptian. So there was a word one. It starts being used as like one man, and then that just becomes an indefinite article, a man, some unspecified, unpreviously known generic man. Yeah. Okay. So we've got wa and wat. I went ahead and put on wat while we were talking about that T. So yeah, wa masculine, wat feminine. Actually, maybe I should put that in here too. Just okay. So there's no future confusion. And then what about this next one?
Yeah. Wa, and wa. Unu.
Unu. Yeah. And it's the word when in Coptic, or won in some dialects. It actually needs that super linear structure. Yeah.
Saidic. Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is all Saitic actually. I think all the Coptic is in Saitic dialect. I don't remember for sure, but I think so. Okay. And Mustafa, do you want to do a couple more?
Yeah, sure. Wenu iman, or wenamun.
Yeah, exactly.
It's something like being Amun. I don't know what's the meaning of the name.
Amun exists.
Amun exists, yeah.
It's pretty simple actually. It's just, I mean, it's not even that clear in Egyptian. It's just when Amun, like Amun is there. There is Amun. Amun exists is the best translation, but it's not even that. It's not that definitive a statement. It's just when Amun. Like there's Amun.
Yeah, in the Middle East, so many different languages has same compositions. Like I don't know. We have also something like God gives something like Tanrı verdi. It's his name in Turkish. Actually, the God that give us something like, or Abdullah in Arabic.
Yeah, like servant of God. These are called theophoric names. So God-bearing names. They're really common. It sounds like you have like Arabic names in Turkish that are theophoric, and then you
Also
have
in
Turkish translations of theophoric names as well.
actually also in the that's probably come from Central Asia to Middle East with Turkish,
Yeah.
but it is also in Semitic languages. It is
Oh yeah.
little bit different way of thinking.
A lot of the Hebrew names that are still used even in English today are theophoric. Like the Turkish name you said, which I can't repeat because I don't know Turkish, but it was basically the equivalent of Nathaniel. Nathaniel is like given by God, God given.
Yeah.
Yes, like it's
Tanrı verdi.
like Nathaniel. Nathaniel means from Nathan, meaning give.
Yeah.
Give to God. Or I give to God, Nathaniel.
Yeah, Michael also, Michael.
Yeah,
I forgot what
Michael.
Michael. What does that mean, Michael? It means L does something. Michas. L is with you, Michael.
I thought who's like
Michael
God,
is,
maybe.
yes.
Or
No,
L is
go ahead.
like you, or L is
Yeah.
with you.
Who is like God?
Who is like God? Oh, okay.
Oh,
I tried to figure it out and I didn't do
Who
that
is
great
like
a job.
God? Yeah.
Who is like God?
Mihuka like El God.
Ah, got it. Okay, yeah, so tons of those. Interesting stuff. You see them in Egyptian names are kind of fun. So there is a hypothesis. Tanreverda came up too fast for me to see it. Tanreverdi. Tanre God, Verdi. God was, give it. Okay. So Jim Allen has this hypothesis that he often states that like Egyptian names were normally given by the father at the birth of the child, which is, it's kind of borne out by a lot of Egyptian names. So there's a fairly common Egyptian name, Kasson, that literally means another brother. So you can imagine like, like a baby is being born, they already have one son and the baby is born and you know, you see the baby being born and you realize it's a boy and you say, oh, another brother. And then you just name it that, another brother. So yeah, Egyptian names are kind of fun. There's several good sources out there. There's a book, I forget the exact title, but it's by someone called Ronca, and it's referred to in Egyptology as just Ronca. And it's like a bunch of names from like, when is it? I guess they're like like hieroglyphic Egyptian names. I think they're pre Third Intermediate Period names. I don't remember exactly when. And then there's also the Demotische Namen book, which is also referred to that way, even in English. And it's just a list of like demotic names with their demotic, Egyptian, Greek equivalents whenever possible. So like if any of you know me from Osar Noctis, if you saw me post this on Reddit or something, that name was actually taken from that book. And it was, I chose it because it was the only name I could find that had the hieroglyphs, the Greek, the Coptic is relatively easy, and the demotic. So it was attested in all the scripts. So that's why I took it as a name. So yeah, if you're interested in Egyptian names, there's lots of sources on that. Ask about it in the Discord. We'll be able to throw a bunch of stuff in there. You can learn more about it. But Wenamun is a very classic, you know, standard Egyptian name. He also is a priest at the Temple of Amun in Thebes. So it's, and the story we're going to read is, it's debated whether this is a true story or a fictional story, but you know, if it is a fictional story, it makes sense that he would have this name for storytelling purposes, because he's, you know, very involved in like, you know, providing for the cult of Amun. So yeah, Wenamun. Okay, do you want to do one more, Mustafa?
Yeah, Wenni, Unni or Wenni, Y-N-N-Y. Well, yeah.
Yeah, and this survives into Coptic as just ne. And it's the, I just have particle here, it's the imperfect. So it puts things into the past, basically. It marks ongoing events in the past. So we'll see that in the text and it will make more sense. But right now you just know it as particle. Maybe I should call it the imperfect particle. Yeah, maybe that helps some people who already know what that means. Okay, and let's do one more. Just this last one. What do you think for this guy?
Okay. If it is mean chief, it probably means Veru or or something, I don't know, neb.
It's not used to write neb. It could be, I would say where or ser or even semsu perhaps, but here I'm just going to go with where. It's not actually indicated phonetically which exactly prominent elder person it is, but yeah. When do you know? Oh, this is a great question. When do you know when to translate the uniliteral and when not? So for example, here, when nu amun, we have a repeated N. How do we know not to transliterate it? Well, if there's just one, it just complements what's in the biliteral. So it's just there once. It's just this whole combination is just when. In this case, we have when here, and then we have another N. So that tells us that there actually is phonetically another N in there. Why does the stick have two branches at the bottom? Good question. So in where the stick that he's holding has two branches at the bottom, it is probably, I need to get regular keyboard. It is probably this thing. So a lot of Egyptian staffs have a forked bottom. In the Was scepter, it probably represents the forked tail of Set. There are things from all over the ancient Near East, like religious figures or kind of shamanic figures that carry sort of stylized snakes. What's the name of that sculpture? There's a sculpture from the Aegean. Let's just go with what I know. Aegean sculpture, priestess with snakes. Yeah, look at me go. So this kind of imagery is really common. Oh, it's Minoan. Yeah, I didn't know, but shows what I know. Anyway, so this is really quite common. You see it in Harpocrates too. He's often shown holding snakes and scorpions. This was common throughout the ancient Mediterranean. So we have quite a few examples of staffs that have like a snake head, and then it gets that kind of forked appearance. So I don't know for sure in this case why it's a forked bottom, but it's just a very common symbol of power for staffs to have forked bottoms. Lots of cross-cultural connections. So the Was staff is Set. I think so. Yeah, I believe so. I think it's Set. I mean, it looks like him. Let me try to find an actual ancient one. Not one of these like fake ones. It's in very good condition. Okay, recording from the previous class. I gotta save it real quick. Okay. This is a modern one. This one's actually real. Let's look at it. I think this is Set.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got that little curvy downward nose and the big ears. Let's see, does it have a forked bottom? Oh, the suspense there was awesome. That super long scroll. Yeah, forked bottom. So there you go. Checking the chat. Cool stuff. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Mustafa. Who did I say was next? Did I say Michael was next?
Joseph.
Joseph. Okay.
I'm ready. Yep.
All right. And we'll come to Michael afterwards.
Okay. Uher.
How do I write that in transliteration?
Well, we have the wa and ra.
Yeah. And this is actually pronounced where.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just it's like a long E sound, where.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good job. And that's it. I mean, and this, to the person who asked the question before, this is a really great indication of how this probably works based on what we know. So this is the biliteral where, WR. There's an extra R in there. And then in Coptic, we have the exact equivalent of that word as just where with no double R. Another eigenvalue of the transcription algorithm. Yeah. So good. Mm-hmm. I love someone who understands eigenvectors and eigenvalues enough to use that as an analogy. For me, it's like I have to come up with analogies to explain those to myself every single time because I'm not good at math. So yeah, mad props for that. I guess it is like if transcription is some like super complicated transformation. Okay. Yeah, Joseph, what's this next one?
Osh.
The Coptic, Wosh.
Yes, Osh. And we have U. The biliteral for sha at the complement of the a, and the coil rope and the kind of rope there, the woo, with the 3 strokes representing plural and bringing out the woo sound.
Yeah, I don't know if the 3 strokes really add anything phonetically.
Okay.
I think it's kind of a collective, and that coil thing often goes with documents. So presumably it's a commission, or it's a set of orders that Wenamun is given to go do something, and they are presumably actually written on a piece of paper by like the high priest, which gives he is able to authenticate himself and his mission to anyone he encounters by showing them these documents. So it is a document. It's kind of collective because it's a plural set of things. It's actually like a collection of words or documents or whatever. How do I transcribe this?
W Aleph, I mean, yeah, W Aleph and Ayin. No.
You're missing this biliteral. What value does that give us?
U?
It's not U. It is third H or happy H plus Aleph. It's ha. That's the ha biliteral. Happy H, yes. Uha.
It's always interesting to try to figure out how they actually pronounce these things, you know, in Sahidic and in ancient Egyptian, you know, like wuha.
Yeah, in this case, I really don't know, because it's so there's a thing that happens with Coptic verbs where all of the biliteral verbs are sort of unified with having this omega in the middle. So it's always consonant, omega, consonant. So this one has been kind of regularized in a way that no longer matches its earlier Egyptian writing. So in this case, I could only speculate as to the pronunciation. We don't really know. We just have those 3 consonants, u, ha, and glottal stop, presumably, or some kind of consonant. But yeah, whatever it is.
Well, the next one would be wushat.
Yeah, wushat.
Wushat. And that would be u, shada.
Yep, that's it. And there's also, in this one, there happens to be a little Y at the end. There was probably so this was probably something like washta earlier. And the presence of that final vowel is probably marked with this Y character. And the presence of that final vowel is probably what preserves the T word finally in the Coptic word, because most word final T's were lost, but they weren't lost if they were followed by a vowel. So you kind of have this like erosion at the end of a word. So you need a vowel after this to protect it earlier, or wouldn't end up with the T in Coptic. And then we have this thing. So it's like, okay, there's probably a vowel. So washta or something like that. And it's to worship. It can also just mean to greet, like to say hello to someone. So to treat respectfully, or if you want to generalize to something. Yeah. How many was that? That was 3. Let's do a couple more.
Water.
So yeah, that's good. Wota. Yeah, this double omega produces a glottal stop, so it's like wota.
Like wota. That's sort of like like in Arabic when you do shadda?
Shadda doubles a consonant or lengthens a consonant sound. In this case, it's the equivalent of hamza in Arabic. So it just adds a glottal stop into the word. Although it does it by by repeating the vowel, which is a little confusing. But if you think about the way a glottal stop sounds in a phrase like "uh-oh," it kind of creates this impression that there's like a little there's kind of a latent vowel sound along with the glottal stop, because you're still producing the vowel sound when you make the glottal stop. So there's kind of an echo of the vowel. That's probably how this orthography came about. We don't really know for sure. It's still hotly debated. Some Egyptologists think that this actually represents a long vowel, although the evidence for it representing a glottal stop is pretty open and shut.
Okay.
It's pretty reliable. So wota, and then how would you transcribe this?
Wa-ui.
So you're missing, this is a biliteral, you're missing one of the characters of this biliteral.
I can't remember.
Okay, I'll tell you. Wedge.
Wedge, 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 wedge. Yes.
Wedge-ui. And that's where this T comes from too. You need some kind of dental in here to get this T into the Coptic. And then just to go back, so there were a couple questions in the chat. Regarding the previous word, so this sign is often used to write the word dua. And there was a question, what happens to the word dua? The word dua still exists in Late Egyptian. It just happens to be that in this word, this sign is used as a classifier rather than as a logogram for the word dua. So it's just a different word. Weshti versus dua, what's the difference? Well, dua is more specifically like what you do for a god, whereas weshti probably means something like to honor or to treat respectfully or something, because it has these two meanings. It's what you do to, it can be what you do to like worship a god. It can also be what you do to just say hello to someone. We'll see it in the story where it definitely means to greet or to say hello. And then I think I saw, while we were doing that, I think I saw another hand up.
I had if it's me, I had a question about the difference between this to send and the habu to send. Do they have different meaning?
I feel like, I guess it's getting a bit nuanced, but I feel like the words with this root have more to do with something more like to announce or to send a
More formal,
missive, maybe.
as I think.
It could be more formal, yeah, like to
Because
dispatch, perhaps, to dispatch, something like that. Woit means stela, so like a big, stone carved message set up somewhere for people to read, and that's from the same root. So it's communicate, but in a more, from a position of authority, I guess. Whereas hove is like to send someone on an errand. How do we know that the biliteral here is wedge and not hedge? Because it looks different. They are distinct. I'll put in hedge real quick. Why am I getting so many like Asian language characters? Okay, I'm having some kind of issue with my keyboard in Google Docs, which I haven't seen before. What can I do about that? I don't know what to do about that. I guess I could let's do this. It's so tiny. Okay, so hedge is actually the mace, and wedge is either like, I guess it is probably still a mace, or maybe it's a spool or something. Oh no, the spool is that Aj. I don't actually know what that thing is, the wedge thing.
It is maybe a seal, something like seal on a string.
Like a cylinder seal, which they didn't really use in Egypt after the proto-dynastic period.
Yeah,
but
actually, it
could be an old sign.
Actually for something like scarab seal, because
okay.
Because the envelope, the letter, something like that.
Let's just see if we can find. Oh, can I search? I don't think
There
I can
is
search
too
by
many
Unicode.
examples in Anatolia, but I don't know if there is in Egypt.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what this thing is. So that can be a question. If anyone wants to figure out by next time, that'd be awesome. Tell me what that thing is. Oh, we can use the PHRP. The thing is, I don't remember its Gardner code. It's going to be in like weapons. Oh no, it might not be because I don't know what the thing is. Hedge is in weapons. That's definitely a mace. I don't remember the Gardner code for this sign. If anyone happens to know it, throw it in the chat real quick.
Let me check. Come on.
Oh, there it is. It's in group 5, rope, fiber,
25.
basket, bags, etc. Yeah, it's right. Yep.
Cord wound on stick. Oh, that was my guess. Looks different from the, oh yeah, that's very clearly linen thread wound on a wooden stick. Nice. Okay, mystery solved. So yeah, that is wedge specifically, and hedge is just a different sign. They look quite similar, but that's kind of par for the course in hieroglyphs. You have so many signs that they're inevitably going to end up looking quite similar. Yeah, great question. I learned something myself. I didn't know what that was actually a depiction of until just now. Yeah, that's why we do it. Yeah, once you see them large, and then PHRP is really useful for getting a sense of what things are because they're in full color. The color makes all the difference, especially with things like birds. There's often a lot of debate about what species of birds they are, but once you get the color, it's like, oh, I mean, birds are quite distinct once you start looking at their colors. Like this is a saddle-billed stork, and it becomes quite clear once you get like the coloring. Anyway, interesting stuff. Definitely fun. I love PHRP. I look at it almost every day to find cool stuff. Okay, and Joseph, do you want to do one more? And then Michael, it will be your turn.
Sure. Ujai.
Yeah, Ujai.
That would be U and Ja'i.
Okay, so this is called second D.
Second D.
And then the next letter is called, we normally call it Aleph, even though it's a bit of a misnomer.
Yeah.
And then Y.
Jai.
Jai. Yeah, and that's another one where it's Egyptological pronunciation. It's almost identical to Coptic. Ujai. Neat. All right, thanks, Joseph. Michael, do you want to do some of these?
Sure thing. So this one is Baki. So it's like B. I think it's Aleph. I know it's one of the A's.
It's Aleph, yeah.
And then K-I.
Yeah.
It would be Vok.
Vok. Yeah, good.
The next one would be Pa. So P and then Aleph.
Good. Yeah.
Coptic
and then this.
The P.
We have a similar thing happening. I'll let you do the next one too, and then I'll talk about this.
Oh, okay. Next one is same thing, just an extra Y stuck at the end. So P Aleph Y. And then
yep. And then you can see the relationship between pi and pa, this and the, exactly equivalent to their relationship in English. The word the comes from that, I think, one of the demonstratives. So same thing in Egyptian, you get a shortened form of the demonstrative as the definite article. So you go from that to the, or this to the, whichever way it works. And it's analogous to what you have here, where you have the word for one, Y, and then the indefinite article coming from the word for one, but kind of becoming its own thing. Yeah, they are, in the case of the indefinite article, they're written identically in late Egyptian. It's just written as one both times, whether it's the word one or the indefinite article. In the case of the definite article, it is actually written distinctly. It's written as pa without the extra E on the end, probably reflecting its shorter pronunciation.
Question on servant. What do the suffix pronouns look like in late Egyptian? Is it the seated man as well, or?
Yeah, and that ambiguity always exists throughout the history of written Egyptian. So if you wanted to say my servant, you would probably write, let me see if my Egyptian writing will work. Yeah, you would probably write this. Could I write other things here? Why does it only work in some fields and not in others?
That's weird.
Anyway,
okay. Thanks.
Yeah, you would just write it twice. Or you might just write it once and you're supposed to just figure it out. You know how Egyptian is. Yeah, they expect the reader to do some guesswork a lot of times. Yeah, it could go either way. Okay, Michael.
So this one is pair, so PR, and Coptic would be por or pe.
Yeah, so it's there are quite a few cases where it sort of survives into Coptic. The Coptic word for house is a, and it actually comes from a word that means room. It's the plural of a word that means room. So the word rooms becomes the word house in Coptic. So this pair word kind of falls out of use, but it does survive in the Coptic word genepor, which means roof. So genepor, literally head of house, roof, and somehow the R gets preserved. Don't really know how. And it also survives in the word erpe, which is the earlier Egyptian word temple, which is like mouth of the house, erpe. It survives as just pe there. So you can see the loss of the final R, which is typical, and you can see a case that mysteriously preserves the final R in the word genepor. And I don't, Aurelio, we were discussing that. I don't think we ever came up with an answer as to why that R is preserved.
Nope, it's still a mystery. I mean, it shouldn't be there.
It shouldn't. By
And
all
I mean,
logic, it should not be there.
the only way that you could get a long, I mean, assuming that the omega is a long O, so an older long A, would mean there would have to be another vowel after the R.
Yeah.
So it would have to be a pare or something like that in the earliest.
Have we suggested just the plural? Could it just be the plural? Like, could it be head of houses or something?
I don't think we did go there, but
that would put a vowel on the end and then let the vowel. So this is probably a short A or an A enclosed syllable with the loss of the final R, leaving it exposed. And then this must be an A in open syllable, which means there has to be a vowel after the R. The best way to do that I can think of is just to say that it's a plural. Yeah.
It's the best effort so far. Let's put it this way.
Yeah. Might be right. I don't know. Speculation though. Don't take that to the bank. If anyone is really engaged in that question, why does genepor have an R on the end? Maybe it's a plural. I don't know. Nobody knows. Okay, and then let's finish out this page, Michael. What do you think?
Sounds good. So this one is also pair. So PR. I think the legs are just a determinative here.
They are, yeah. Verb of motion to go out.
And
pire in Coptic.
Pire, not like pere, but pire. Okay.
Yeah, so that's always confusing.
Is E.
It's almost always just E, except in the very, very rare exceptions where it isn't. This is not one of those exceptions. Those exceptions are very rare. You can almost always read epsilon iota as just E, so pire.
As I actually, it is from Ellen book, like Perry, to the transliteration of this.
Yeah, good catch, Mustafa. So that's a wrinkle I'm going to add to this. We haven't actually learned this yet, so this is just kind of a preview of future things. But this is actually a verb of the third week class, which means that it actually has a short vowel on the end that is sort of transient. So it's often not written in hieroglyphs. Occasionally it is, depends on the verb form that you're getting. But the root of the verb, it's actually a triliteral verb where the third consonant is a semivowel. So it has these kind of strange properties. So the transcription of this word is actually peri with the yod on the end. It's not actually written here, so we can leave it off or put it on.
Okay, that makes me feel good, because I was gonna say, like, I know there's an epsilon at the end of the word in Coptic, and I know that's like, if there wasn't just a something going on after the R normally, then like that wouldn't be there. So
right.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to explain it somehow, and the explanation is we have to get some grammar before it fully makes sense. But I hope it's satisfying just for now to say that, like, yes, there was another consonant on this root, and but it's a weak consonant, so it doesn't always show up in writing.
I'm just happy that I figured that out. So
yeah, nicely done.
So the last one is per aa. So PR, and then I was have to think about this one. It's the two different A's. So I think it's ayin and then aleph. I could have that backwards. Okay.
I got it backwards for years before it finally stuck. Yeah, and like the word ma'at is the other way, and I used to. So there are words that have aleph ayin in them too. Yeah, it's just confusing. But you got it right. Yeah, okay. I mean, you had a 50-50 shot. So That's how it works for a while until it really gets locked in. And then this
Yeah.
is actually the word, this is the word pharaoh. So the word pharaoh comes via Hebrew from Egyptian. And it, so it does mean pharaoh in late Egyptian. Do you want to try to guess what this means earlier?
Well, these happen to be two words that I know already. So
Good.
So I know per is house, like we've seen that just above, and then the aa means great. So so the great house.
Yeah, the big house.
Which which is, I always thought it was neat because it's like how we talk
House
about like
of
the White House
donkey,
doing
maybe.
something.
Yeah, it's like it's a metonym. It's like we say the White House has issued a statement.
Yeah.
I also like that it's the big house, but it doesn't mean prison. It means the palace. I think that's fun. Mustafa, did you have something to add to that?
Actually, I'm just trolling. Just said House of Donkey, maybe.
Yeah, because that word can mean donkey also.
House of Donkey.
So, I guess
I think that would get you.
That's
That
if you
would
don't
get
like
you
the
to the
girl
other
very
big
much.
house, yeah. Good one though. Hey, do we know what's going on with the double row?
Do we? It's not there in.
Ro.
It's not there in Bohairic. It's puro, and with a single row. Why is it there? Let's see.
It's not exactly common in Coptic, is it? Double row.
No, and it's no. Coptic really doesn't have doubled consonants unless they're between
Emphasize the
morpheme
ayin.
boundaries. Emphasized ayin. It could be some kind of assimilation with the ayin or the aleph.
That's where I was going. Is that an assimilated ayin in some way, shape, or form, which would be really interesting?
It could be. I honestly don't know. I mean, it's weird because this is actually a morpheme boundary. Like this is the definite article, and this becomes the word for king. This is called rebracketing. I actually learned that from one of my students in the previous Coptic class. The linguistic term for this is rebracketing. It's the same thing that happens in English with like the word adder, like the snake. It was originally called natter, but then if you say an adder.
An adder.
There are a few examples of that.
orange.
Apron is another one.
It was napron.
Yep.
Orange as well. Naranja in Spanish, and I think wherever it was taken from, Persian ? It has an N at the beginning.
Yeah, and then I think we get it through French. So that rebracketing might have happened in French. Ned
is from mine Ed, really?
My Ned.
Yes. Yes.
That's
why you abbreviate Edward to Ned. Because it's
really?
say mine Edward. Yeah.
Wow.
Whoa.
That's
but then like the N fell off of the word mine in most cases. So then people kept saying it, but they heard my Ned instead of mine Ed.
Oh, nice. That's great.
Wow.
Makes you wonder where Nedward comes from. The classic name Nedward. I thought of another one too. What was the other one? I just thought of one. Nickname comes from I think ekname.
Nickname, yeah.
Yeah. It goes the other way though. The N actually gets added onto it rather than taken away. So yeah, this is an example of that. So the P, as you saw earlier, just now is the definite article. So perra became can't do my R's. And we've got some kind of shenanigans going on in the chat about the house of the hyena, but I'll just leave that aside. Who wants to do some more of these? We got some time left. We got 6 minutes. Who wants to do? I think Ralph might have been volunteering. I got that impression that he wanted to volunteer. Oh, Randy. Okay.
All right. It's PTRI.
Yeah, why did my font just change? That's annoying. Let's see if I can just copy it. Did that fix it? Yes. Okay, good. Yeah, Petri. And then do you want to try to do this derivation? So what's the Coptic?
So Coptic is pore, and the
Pore.
derivation would be, it looks clear that the T fell out because it became debuccalized, or it's just
Yeah.
it's just
Debuccalized. Excellent. Excellent terminology. Yeah.
just a glottal stop, so it falls out, and then
Yep.
yeah, I don't know the explanation. I don't know anything else much beyond that.
Yeah, that's good. Also weird that we have the omega here, even though that would have been a closed syllable, but maybe glottal stops don't enforce that rule. Maybe this is treated as an open syllable because it's maybe a syllable that ends in a glottal stop is an open syllable. Is that so? Huh, that's new for me. I've never noticed that before. Does the TR glyph actually go at the end like that? Yes, it does. I mean, as to why, I don't really know. It's kind of odd. Yeah. Yeah, they are way earlier than in the word, but then because this is Unicode, they're all just like put in a sequence. But you can imagine if this were actually written in hieroglyphs, the P and T would be on top with the R underneath. So they make a nice little square, and then you have the other things. So that probably explains the letter order. It's just an easier way to organize them, so they make nice squares. Okay, Randy, you want to do some more?
Sure. M I R. I assume it's being used as a biliteral at the end.
It is, yeah. And I'm going to write it with a little dash because it is actually the Middle Egyptian negative imperative. Don't is just M. And then late Egyptian is M-ir, literally don't, like do not. So M-ir is do not. And then you put that onto a verb to make a negative imperative, like don't go, I don't know, whatever, M-ir shemi or whatever. Don't, do not, literally.
Random question, is this form also used in like the negative confessions of like the Book of the Dead?
I
like
think
I did not do this and this and this.
I think that uses a negated sejm F, if I remember correctly. So okay, like ni sejm F, I would guess is the form that's used there because they are written in literary late Egyptian, Middle Egyptian, but after the time period of Middle Egyptian.
Ramesside Egyptian.
Ramesside.
Of a little bit.
But it is middle, the language is Middle Egyptian.
Yeah, mainly Middle Egyptian.
Yeah, it's just written in the time period of late Egyptian. Okay.
So question, a quick question, the P of the emperor, is that just from the collision of the M and R sounds?
I think so, yeah. I think it's like the P in pumpkin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a friend whose name is Tompkins, and I honestly cannot remember whether it has a P in it or not, but I do remember her complaining bitterly about either people putting in the P or leaving it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure I would get it wrong too. And then she'd be really mad because I've known her for years, but oh well, she'll get over it. Okay, this next one.
M N T.
Yeah. And I put the dash because these are actually two words. It's M like in, and then menet, again, daily. So it just means daily, but it's like in daily. And then there's a rare double consonant in Coptic because they are actually, this is actually a morpheme boundary. So this is a preposition plus a adverb, I suppose would be an adverb. So in daily. And let's see, we have a bunch of these M preposition combos. You want to do, let's see. Let's do
How much time do we have?
Well, we're technically out of time, but these all kind of go together. They all start with M. Let's do one more. Let's just do one more and round it off, and we'll come back to we'll start again next time.
Sure. M. Is it S Aleph?
That's right. Yeah. So saw actually means back. And so imsa means on the back, and then that is behind. And I think even in late Egyptian, it can also mean other things, like it's the standard way of saying accept. In Coptic, you say ensa to mean accept, but it literally means behind, and it originally meant literally on back. So this is a Middle Egyptian phrase that's been sort of fossilized and brought into Late Egyptian, because it's not good Late Egyptian because it's missing the article. But Middle Egyptian doesn't have articles, so you just say on back. You don't say on the back, and now it's fossilized without the article. That's kind of cool. We're going to see some more like that.
It's wonderful, wonderful preposition. I love it.
Yeah.
Heter, emsa, eter.
What is the saw glyph a picture of? It looks like a stick shift. I think it's a box with a lid and a little handly thing. I think we have examples of artifacts that sort of look like that. I can't think of it right now. I think it's in the AAs. So it's one of these like unclassified or unknown glyphs. It's like AA.
Yeah.
16, AA 18. Back of some.
Back of
No
something.
shit.
I thought it's a printer, more like.
Yeah, it's
the cable.
Oh, don't even say it, because you know there's going to be a YouTube video about like, did the ancient Egyptians have color printers? And they're going to quote us.
To my eye, it always looks like a roll of toilet paper with like a weird little accessory on top.
Yeah, you know, if you bedazzle your toilet paper, that's what it would look like. Yeah, now I can't unsee it. It totally looks like one of those like toilet roll dispensers that has a little like chrome flap hanging over the top, like in hotel rooms.
I can't not see that.
Yeah, I can't unsee it now. Okay, that's
Maybe
what it is then.
it is a cylindric seal. I don't know. It's look like.
Mustafa, you really want to find cylinder seals. There are ancient Egyptian cylinder seals.
Yeah, I know.
They're just very old. They stopped using them.
I know cylinder seals, yeah.
They're like all like proto-dynastic.
Actually not.
Old Kingdom. Oh, look, I got to eat my words now. Look at that.
Pepe.
I was just proven wrong as I said the words. Love it. Yeah, Old Kingdom. There we go.
As I know, it is also in New Kingdom. Cylinder seals. Because the impact of Mesopotamia.
Cylinder seals? Okay.
Impact of Mesopotamia in much influence.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely constantly in contact and exchanging ideas. Egyptians did prefer to use signet rings, though. That much is certain.
Yeah.
Because we have so many of those. That was definitely the dominant usage. Okay. Y'all enjoy the rest of your weekend. For people coming to office hours are happening tomorrow. What was the other thing about that? Office hours are not happening on Wednesday because I'm going to be out of town and I don't have my computer, so it would be really hard. But yeah, and so I'll either see y'all tomorrow or next Saturday. Until then, everyone have a great week.
Thank you.
See you next
Thank
week.
you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.